Judgment here. I have been spending most of November and December 2021 doing Uber runs to gain Hellfire torches for the first time. I didn't know how I was going to achieve this, but the character you're seeing is Pius, whom I started at the beginning of 2021 as a Zealer. He is currently level 96 and I have respec'd him as a conventional Smiter for Uber Tristram, and I utilised the same Griswold set that he used to get to level 96. In this video I'm going to explain the skills and gear he has, and later on I'm going to give you a lesser version of the same gear. To run the Ubers successfully I find there is some gear changing necessary, but I've got it down to changing 2 of the items. I'll go through his gear first, and I'll point out here the first thing you should notice that's not in the inventory is a Hellfire torch. When I started thinking about this character to run Uber Tristram, well, I didn't have a Hellfire torch in the first place, and I thought I would keep it simple and not present people with an overly powerful build, though this one, in my opinion, would certainly be hard enough to construct for a beginning player. So we have a Griswold set. The weapon has inside it a burr, a low and an ohm. Now the burr rune is for the crushing blow, and that's useful. The low and the ohm runes, they were of some value in getting him to level 96. The helm has a thole and a rel rune for extra cold and fire resistance. The shield has 2 runes and a jewel. The jewel adds 7 hit recovery, minus 15% of requirements, and 2 to 9 flat damage. The armour simply has 3 Aut runes in it for additional lightning resistance. The boots are Gore Riders. There is a Ravenfrost ring, Dracul's Grasp for the gloves, and the other ring is that ring there, which is there for the boost in resistances, and that in my opinion is too good a ring for a beginning player to find, so I'll show you some alternatives later. The amulet is that one there, that's a crafted amulet. It has 2 to paladin skills, which is useful, but is primarily there for the teleport charges. The belt is the String of Ears Demon Hide sash for the damage reduction. Now when I started this character I had all sorts of bad expectations about what would happen. So I was originally using Enigma for the body armour. I still have in the personal stash Treachery made in a dust shroud, and I was using that to propagate the Fade aura. However, I didn't find that was necessary in the end. There is also an additional burr rune then, which I may at some stage put into that weapon to enhance the crushing blow still further. I've still yet to decide whether I'll advance this character towards level 97. I originally started this character with these 2 charms, but the other ones were mostly plus 11 to resist small charms. But I realised as I collected more torches it was more space efficient to use all resistance charms. Now the original plus 11 resistance charms I had contributed an additional 117 to life, because some of them were plus 20 to life as well. So what I did to compensate for that was load the inventory with 20 to life small charms. And there's one with cold resistance. And there's one here which has all resistances 5 and 3 run walk. On switch we have a 6/5 Call to Arms Phase Blade for battle orders, a Spirit Taj, and I'll point out the last of the small charms is this one here. If I take that one off you'll notice that the Phase Blade is no longer active, and unfortunately I respec the character with that charm in the inventory. The Mercenary Wahid has an Obedience Giant Thresher in an ethereal base, Treachery in an ethereal base, and a Vampire Gaze into which I have put an attack speed jewel which does not increase the breakpoints. In general I find the Mercenary quite useless, and I have enormous trouble keeping him alive, though I have done it on some occasions. I was originally using the rune word Doom, which came from the Hammerdon's Mercenary, but in the interest of having a lower end build I thought Doom and the inherent Cham rune was just way too difficult for beginning players to find. I thought Obedience was a much better lower level option. For skills, well, I have simply gone 1 into each of these ones. To get to Redemption, I've put 10 additional points into resist fire, 10 additional points into resist lightning. You'll notice I have 15 skill points remaining, so I could arguably put 10 of those into resist cold, but I don't really think it's necessary. Offensive auras, maxed out fanaticism, and one each in the others. I put 1 point by mistake into holy fire. That was just simply a clicking error. Combat skills, I have maximised smite and holy shield, and 1 point each into the prerequisites of holy bolt, blessed hammer and charge. The gear chains that are required for this character to run the Ubers are 2. A Uber's run for this character divides into 2 parts. There's a melee part, which is the monsters Lilith, Duril and Isual, and an absorb part, which is Uber Tristram. When we go into Uber Tristram, I'll change the belt to Thunder God's Vigour and the amulet to the Rising Sun. So what I'm going to show you here are a number of runs with various gear combinations, and each time in effect I either improved the gear or made it a little less demanding for new players to find. And later on I'll show you another build where there are no high runes, there is no Burr rune, there is no call to arm, and the highest rune contained on the character is in fact the Thull rune in the helm. What are the advantages to using a Griswold set on a Smiter? One is that there are a lot of sockets. You can bump up the resistances quite powerfully by incorporating runes into the armour, the helm and the shield. The Griswold set on its own will give you plus 100 resists before you add anything into the sockets. If I show you his resistances here on the Griswold set, we are carrying 294 fire, 323 lightning and 320 cold. And keep in mind that does include that amulet that will come off inside Uber Tristram. The Griswold set, another advantage is that it includes integer cold absorb from the helm and some percentage cold absorb from the Ravenfrost ring. And the idea here is that within Uber Tristram, all the elemental damage that we receive from fire, cold and lightning will have a healing effect and not do you any harm. As I show you extracts from some of the runs, I'll bring up screens showing the resistances that we encountered, particularly when tackling Tristram Mephisto. I have brought up here the Diablo 2 attack speed calculator, and you can see here that for a paladin using a Caduceus, for the skill of smite, fanaticism can be as low as level 13 to hit the 6 frames per attack breakpoint. If you go any higher, the attack speed just drops to get to that 6 frames per attack. And I have to say I was a little bit annoyed that they patched out the increased attack speeds that were possible for a short while. The next breakpoint under that attack speed regime was 95, which I could have obtained by putting 1 Burr rune and 3 Shale runes in the same weapon. Here is a summary video of my first ever Ubers run, and I'll try and include some of the mistakes I made along the way. Now if I get it with the wand, right, here we go. Well, that wasn't convincing, but it was done. It's been done. Oh, these mana burn. We do that, do we? I was going to do that and go with the extra lightning resistance, but I'm open to guidance here. We've got Thunder Gods, I've got a Wisp projector on. Okay, let's have these other things down, I don't need them bugging me. Where is he? Okay, he's down. Right, so let's get some life back here. Oh, we got it. We got it, folks. Well done, team. Alright, people, here we go. My first ever torch is 1812 Amazon. Here are summary videos of torch runs numbers 10, 12 and 15. And in these 3 runs I am changing the small charms around just to see the effect on the resistances. And in each run I bring up a screen showing the resistances against Tristram Mephisto. Right, there's our resistances against Mephisto now. Now we can do better than that. Okay. Oh, another assassin one, but is that better than the one we've already got? So there's our resistances. I still like more fire. We'll see light, fire, lightning. Okay. See, all the elemental damage apart from the poison should be really just healing us. So we're just not taking any damage here. So we're just not losing any life. I'm very happy with this. Oh, yeah, okay, right, we've got it. Torch is Barbarian. Now, resistances before he goes down. Okay, could still be more in my opinion, but okay. The fire ones look good. We've got huge fire absorb from the rising sun. And hopefully everything except the poison damage should heal. There's some melee damage there, but that'll do. There is Bale down. Right, where's Diablo? Okay, I heard it drop. Right, we've got it. We're out. Okay, we're still on the lookout for a Necromancer torch. This one is 1319 Barbarian. So you got that one right, Commander Zod. I then changed Pius's gear to the gear I showed you at the beginning of the video. That is the plus resistance grand charms and plus 20 to life small charms. Here is one of the better runs that I did, torch run number 29, and this one I have by now sorted out the order in which I tackle the pre-Tristram monsters and how to get around Uber Tristram to fight the monsters there one at a time. And the trick with this build is to hope that the life tap from the Dracul's Grasp comes on as quickly as possible. So that's probably the most, in my opinion, the Dracul's Grasp are the most important piece of equipment on this build. Doom, that's too good, that's unnecessary. Treachery, Vampire Gaze. I'm hoping to use something like Obedience. Combat Shrines not going to help. Alright, here we go. We want 3 teleports. Because we're in sync, I was surprised that the static maps still say the same for the Ubers in unmodified single player. We want 3 teleports. And we need 1 more teleport. And usual's over here. I'll get to grief one day. I'm going to do a build video on this. The mercenary doesn't get killed, but now has the life tap gone off. Not yet. Hurry up. Oh, there it is. We'll try and see if we can look after the mercenary inside Tristram. Oi, start. Virtually everything. So there's the resistances under Mephisto's conviction aura. We are virtually indestructible. Right, so he's down. We just get here about right bale sort of appears. Like that. What we don't want are the spectres. Right, that's bale down. Life tab hasn't gone off yet. Come on. But with all the lightning, all the fire just heals. Our life tap's gone off now, so we hardly lose any life at all. Oh, he's down. Large charm, now we've got to get out. Torch is 1914 Barbarian. The run summaries you have just seen were done with the weapon containing the Burr rune, the shield containing 2 runes, and call to arms on switch. Now that utilises 3 high runes. The Burr rune in the weapon, an Ist and an Ohm, and a Mal you may possibly regard as a high rune in the phase blade, and there are also 2 runes in the shield. And I thought for a beginning player to acquire those runes would be unreasonably difficult. The uniques, the Dracul's Grasp, Thunder God's Vigour, Ravenfrost, and the Gore Riders, they are all relatively standard uniques that I've been able to find not only in Lord of Destruction, but also in Diablo 2 Resurrected in a relatively short time. I decided to run Pius at Uber Tristram without any of the high runes. I am fortunate enough to have a number of Griswold sets. Here is the second best weapon I've ever found. There is nothing in the sockets. I've replaced the shield with one containing 3 perfect diamonds. The Gore Riders now go to the Goblin Toe battle boots, and on switch I am using that wand with life tap charges. Now that's a level 6 life tap that Bale dropped in Lord of Destruction, and I sold that wand, realised what it was, and bought it back. The technique now changes. The idea is to approach the monsters and curse with life tap, go back to the Griswold set and expect the gloves to take over, which they invariably do. I tried using the life tap wand on its own, but the duration of the life tap didn't last long enough in my opinion. The only crushing blow on this setup is that provided by the Goblin Toe boots. This particular pair I've upped to battle boots. Another upside is by having 3 perfect diamonds in the shield instead of 2 runes, the resistances now go up another 13. The resistances were 89 in that shield, they're now 102, so now we have fire resistance of 307, lightning of 336, cold of 300, and poison of 246. The downside of this gear setup is that we have lost a hit recovery breakpoint. The hit recovery was 49, it's now down to 42. The Mercenary now has an Ethereal Obedience, the highest rune here being a Fel rune, an Ethereal Treachery, the highest rune there being a Lem, and the same Vampire Gaze Helm. Here is a summary of run number 34, which was the second last of the 35 Uber runs I did. And I have tried during the run to explain the tactics I have been using with this gear setup. Right, so the only crushing blow we now have is on the boots. There's nothing in the sockets, and I put 3 diamonds in the shield, which actually gives higher resistances. If we take off the gloves, the drop in strength means we can no longer equip the shield. Okay, so we want that for teleport. We want that for life tap if we need it. Okay, so go to weapon swap, cross there, curse. Right, got the life tap up and going. Okay, right, we've got the life tap up and go. Okay, I've lost the mercenaries. Now we just hope the gloves take over. I'm going to get there before the mana. Just. Now, right, got the life tap going. Where is he? Okay, he's down. Now, we've got to get out. Not with the spectres, we won't. Not with the spectres. Okay, we're out. Torch is... oh, Necromancer. A better one than the other one. Running Uber Tristram with the Griswold set is by and large a relatively safe way to accumulate Hellfire torches. Here is one of 2 deaths I experienced running Uber Tristram with Pius. It took me some time to figure out exactly what had gone wrong, but when I went back and reviewed the video, the main fault here was that Holy Shield had elapsed, and during the battles, battle orders went down as well. However, we were able to recover the corpse and continue the run. The 2 builds I've shown you for this character have at least provided a satisfactory method of obtaining Hellfire torches. I still believe both the high-end and low-end builds of this character can be optimised a bit. For the high-end build, with the Griswold weapon and the unruned shield, we could add in that additional burr rune into the last remaining socket of the weapon, though I have to say I don't see too much point to that. We could take out the 2 runes and that jewel in the shield and replace it with 3 runes. That means the resistances would go up by another 22, but we would lose a hit recovery breakpoint, and we could recover that by, for example, replacing the Rel rune in the helm with the Shale rune. In an ideal world though, I would like these 3 resistance charms here to have either plus to life or 12 hit recovery on their own, though I've never seen a charm that good, and I've never seen a charm which, for example, has all resistances 15, 40 to life, though that offensive aura charm does have that. I've been using this ring. If I opt to use battle orders, then that charm becomes a necessity. However, one option is to take out that charm and use this ring instead. We could then put another 20 to life small charm in that spot there. Once we go into Uber Tristram, the Rising Sun amulet gives so much fire absorb, we probably don't need the extra fire resistance on that ring anyway. And we seem to have sufficient cold and lightning absorb using the Griswold helm, the Ravenfrost and Thunder God's Vigour. For the low end version, with its unsocketed Griswold weapon and 3 perfect diamond shield, there are a number of options available for that second ring slot there. If we opt not to use that one because it's simply a very difficult find, we could use any one of these rings, but the one I was using yesterday was that one there. That bumps up all the resistances by 15, and due to the small increase to strength, gives a small increase to smite damage. But we could possibly use that one there, or possibly that one there purely for the fire resistance. Once we have on that shield there, we do need the Drakel's Grasp gloves to give us enough strength to equip it. Going to put this ring on. During yesterday's stream, we found this pair of Drakel's Grasp Vampire Bone gloves. They have a small increase to strength, so if I was to put them on there, that gives us a small increase to smite damage. That charm is no longer necessary at all because we're using the Life Tap wand on switch, so we could put another plus to life small charm in there. In general, I thought the Goblin Toes had a slight edge over the Gore Riders, though it wasn't too much of an advantage. And one change I will make is I will change that teleport amulet for this one, which I crafted in the last crafting session. Again, it's there for the teleport charges, but that one has an additional 5 run walk and small boosts to life and mana. As I get to the end of this video, I have now done 36 Hellfire Torch runs. I picked up both the Hellfire Torch and the Standard of Heroes from the 36th run I did yesterday, which I did at the request of one of the viewers of my stream. One overall improvement I think could be made to the game would be the difficulty of getting to the Diablo clone in unmodified single player. There seem to be all sorts of tricks being performed by players on Battle.net to try and generate the Diablo clone, but to sell even a single Stone of Jordan in single player is a big sacrifice to gain access to the Annihila's Charm, so I've only done it once. I thought a possible alternative might be to transmute a number of standards of heroes, and I think 5 would be a good number, in the Heradric Cube, and that would give a Stone of Jordan that you could then sell on to the merchants to generate the Diablo clone. I've only found 6 Stones of Jordan in all the years I've been playing, and in my opinion, to sell one of those is too large a price to pay to access the Diablo clone. I thought I'd finish by showing you a summary of the first 35 Hellfire torch runs that I did, which generated 8 Amazon torches, 5 assassins, 9 barbarians, 4 druids, 2 necromancers, 5 paladins, and 2 sorceress torches. And unquestionably the best torch of all was a perfect sorceress torch. Here is a summary spreadsheet of the first 35 runs. The perfect sorceress 2020 torch was obtained on the 14th run, but some of the other torches that were obtained there were an 1818 druid, an 1819 Amazon, 2016 barbarian, an 1819 barbarian, an 1818 Amazon, and an 1818 assassin. I don't really know what to do with torches like this, where the attributes and resistances are more or less perfect at one end of the spectrum and bottom at the other. I don't really know yet whether I should prize the attributes over the resistances or the resistances over the attributes. There is an Amazon torch like that. There is an assassin torch with perfect attributes and bottom resistances. I have also calculated in 35 runs the chances of getting each number of torches, and I've simply calculated this down to the point where the probability drops to 0 at 3 decimal places and not gone any further. Now, as you might expect in 35 runs, you would nominally expect to get 5 of each class, and if you look there you can see that 5 is indeed the most likely outcome, and we did get 2 groups of 5. 4 torches is almost as likely, and we did in fact get 4 druid torches. The surprise to me was that getting 9 barbarian torches is in fact less likely than getting 2, in fact much less likely. So we only got 2 necromancer and 2 sorceress torches, but that had a probability of 0.075, but 9 barbarian torches had a probability of only 0.032, and similarly the 8 Amazon torches were also unlikely at 0.064. I'll have to get rid of some of the lesser torches. I'm assuming a 1011 torch is of no real value when I have better ones, and I'll group these here by simply adding the attributes and resistances and putting the total first. So these torches which have low attributes and low resistances, like that paladin one, that necromancer one, and that assassin one, those I'll probably dispose of, and what I'll probably do is give torch to 1 of each character and then keep another 2 of each class to allow for future builds. It's a bit of a contradiction to say to a beginning player, go out and get a Griswold set and then you'll be able to run Uber Tristram even if you don't have any high runes. It would, for example, be far easier to collect the runes and a base for grief rather than try and get a Griswold weapon and the Burr rune I was using on the higher end build. I don't think Griswold sets are valued all that highly, and at least this does show that it's possible to run Uber Tristram with 1 high level set and relatively low end gear using nothing but standard uniques and some charms that I don't think are valued much by other players. I will probably in the future do more Uber Tristram runs, though not with the frequency I've been doing them in the last 2 months. I may try running Uber Tristram with other characters, or I may try upping the gear on this one.